Hello, everyone, and welcome to SUPERHOG's Titans podcast series. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Bob Garner. Bob, how are you?
I'm doing great, my friend. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. As people won't know this, but Bob and I were neighbours for a number of years, me being a resident of Stoke Newington and Bob, a former resident of the less salubrious suburb of Newington Green.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really enjoyed my time there. It was an up-and-coming area, and it was really good to be there. I'm very close to Islington, so it was all lots of good stuff around.
It's a great neighbourhood. I've given it a sort of portrait background, as you can see there. It really does deserve commenting on. But of course, Bob, you left Newington Green. Who knows why anyone would leave Newington Green, but you chose to anyway, and you moved to Italy to open Casal dei Fichi.
Exactly, I did indeed. Yeah. We moved here 16 years ago.
Amazing, 16 years ago. Can you tell us all about the business? I've obviously had a look on the website, and you and I have had conversations about me trying to come out there during the summer with my young family. But yeah, for people who don't know, can you tell us about this business in Italy that you run?
Yeah, so we used to live in London, and we had corporate jobs in the city, and it was great. They pay you a load of money, they work you really hard. But at the end of the day, we came to the conclusion that there was more to life than that. And we wanted a new challenge and to do something that was going to stretch us and sort of give us a new interest, and also give us a much better work-life balance. Because when you work, in the corporate jobs, as you know, it's, nose to the grindstone, and it's hard work, and not always as much fun as you'd like to think it should be.
I think certainly a cold October, November day doing the corporate thing in London, when you arrive to your office in the dark and you leave your office in the dark, yeah. It's quite harrowing, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and a little bit depressing. And I think what we found ourselves doing was compensating for that lifestyle and or that work by going on lots of holidays and sort of treating ourselves. And that was great, obviously. And we found ourselves talking about whether we should do something like be a host ourselves, and actually started to think about where we could go, what we could do, and how we could change our lives. At the time, we had a friend living and working in Rome, and she worked for the UK government for the food programme. And we used to go and visit her a lot. And I was visiting her once, and she was coming up to this area, Le Marche in Italy, in the north on the Adriatic coast. And I tagged along, and she was coming to see friends, etc. And I went back home to my husband, Ian, and said, hey, look, I found a fantastic place to go. Let's move to Le Marche. It's a beautiful area, not as expensive as Tuscany and Umbria. It's more well-known, rich neighbours. And it gave us an opportunity to buy an old farmhouse, completely derelict, abandoned for 35 years, and restore it and convert it into luxury, sustainable apartments, holiday rentals. And that's what we did. And 2 years later, we had a business, and the rest is history, as they say.
Amazing. First of all, well done for having the courage and the tenacity to go and do it, because lots of people talk about it, don't they? And it must have been scary to leave a steady corporate job for something, well, before you've built it, seemingly quite precarious.
Well, it was either stupidity or arrogance. I'm not actually quite sure which. We felt that we had good transferable skills. We'd paid off our mortgage on our house because we'd been planning this sometime in advance. So we put all our spare cash into our mortgage, paid off our mortgage. When you've got no debts, it does liberate you to think beyond the immediate and helps you think about taking chances. And we always thought, if it all goes wrong, if it goes belly up, we can come back and pick up something in our previous careers. And so we don't have children, we don't have responsibilities for anybody but ourselves. So, hey, if we can't do it, and I don't know who can. So we did take a chance and do it. But what was really interesting, I think, is that, and also a little bit scary, as you're referring to, is that we were used to having this income coming in every month. Your salary comes in and it's coming in, and you've been used to it for the last 25 years. And then it doesn't come in anymore. And you've got this capital And the capital goes down and down and down as you're renovating the property, finding further problems, spending more money than you thought you were going to spend. And then you start to get worried, well, will the capital run out before the business is ready to take off and bring some income in? So that bit is somewhat scary. And but, you've got to take chances, haven't you?
Yeah, well, you do, you really do. Unless you sort of take a risk on something, then you don't get that reward at the other end of it, which clearly, in the conversations I've had with you and just your whole demeanor, you're really enjoying life. So tell us more about it. Tell us more. So obviously you bought the derelict property, you turned it into, as you call them, eco apartments, eco lodges. Let's hear more about that.
Sure. So we converted into 6 environmentally sustainable holiday apartments. We live on site in the 7th. And what we wanted to do, we'd stayed in lots of places. I was saying we'd been on lots of holidays, and we'd naturally thought about what worked and what didn't work in previous places we'd stayed. So we sort of committed ourselves to, apart from making it sustainable, which we'll go on to talk about, I'm sure, we also wanted to tick all the other boxes. We want it to be luxurious. We wanted to have fully fitted kitchens with all the equipment so people could do some proper cooking. We wanted to have an organic vegetable garden so they could just step outside their kitchen door and get the things they wanted to cook with. We wanted to have a pizza party once a week because we have an original brick-built pizza oven in the garden so that we can host guests and entertain them. And to be honest, that's one of the best parts of the job is the guests, getting to know them, socializing with them. We're on site every day. And so that's lovely. So we had a number of things that we wanted to achieve, and we wanted to create a lifestyle for ourselves, which included, obviously having a lovely space here, having dogs, having time off so that we could go and do the things we want to do. And that's why we chose vacation rentals as opposed to a hotel or a B&B, because there you're more tied to the business. You're more hands-on in terms of, cleaning and cooking and being there available for the guests. In theory, we can go off. We've welcomed our guests. We could go off and do what we want every day. We don't, but in theory we could, because actually we enjoy spending time with the guests and helping them. But it gives us the freedom to do what we want. And of course, we have the luxury, which is fabulous, is that we close down in the winter and then we have chance to go off and travel ourselves and do the things we want to do. So in exactly 9 days from now, we close for the winter and we head to London. So I'll be seeing Stoke Newington very soon.
Oh, amazing. You lucky, of course. You don't bother going to Newington Green, but go and have a look at Stoke Newington. It's great at this time of year, as you well know. Let's talk about the guests, because you're right. It's all about the guests. What an amazing industry we work in. It's not about bringing somebody a croissant and a cup of coffee to their room anymore. It's about giving someone that space to either spend as much time or as little time interacting with you as they want to. And I think that's really nice. I think that makes for a really great experience, because it's not sort of table service and you having to kind of try and run like a mini hotel. It's very much just saying, look, hey, we can have a chat, we can do a barbecue, we can hang out, or you can close the door and you can have complete privacy.
Yeah. We think we've got the balance right, and the 600 odd 5-star reviews that we've got on TripAdvisor seem to indicate the same, is that what we try to create is a sense of home from home, and that we are constantly available, but we're not in their hair, we're not in their faces. Each of our apartments has its own private garden, not a walled garden where, you have to look over the wall to talk to them, but there's a distinction. There's a tables and chairs and sun lounger, and there's a delineation so that they know that it's their space. So they can also choose when to engage with us and when not. And we're quite good at picking up the people who want to be left alone and have their own space, and others who like to engage. And obviously, we're there to help them, to book a restaurant for them, to give them a guide to a local attraction, to tell them which beach is the best one to go to today, which market will be open on this particular day, etc. And obviously to talk about our environmental sustainability, which is at the core of what we do. So we get a lot of feedback, which is the guests like the style that we try to develop. And we have a 60% return rate from our guests, which I think is quite high in the industry. We have guests who come back, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 times. So gives us an indication that they enjoy what they're finding with us, and they're almost like friends now, really. In fact, many of them are, because we see them every year and they say, see you next year, and we'll have this particular apartment in this particular week. And that's great, because of course there's no cost to acquiring that guest then. They're already, cemented in for the following year. And obviously that's the best type of customer you can have, because there's no costs attached in bringing them on board. So we find that most of our guests come from repeat business, from referrals, or through our website, and we don't have to use the OTAs to bring those guests to us. So it keeps our costs down, and we can then use that money to plow into developing the business, developing more environmentally things that we want to do in our business, and giving them the things that they want, that we feel that would help them have a lovely stay and want to come back.
Fantastic. I love to hear stories like this. One of the reasons I love talking to you, Bob, how that you're not overly reliant on OTAs, and I'm sure they do form a percentage of your bookings, but it's great that you have that repeat guest profile. People might believe it isn't possible to have a business like that in the 21st century, but clearly not the case. Without giving away the secret sauce, what do you think are the key reasons for that? Is the eco lodge, is the environmental element important, or is it just treat people well and they will come back?
I think it's a number of factors. I mean, I would say that our environmental factors have become increasingly important, but in the beginning, when we were new to this, they were a smaller part of our offering. I don't think there is a secret sauce. I think you are genuine, you be yourself, you don't try and be something that you're not. We enjoy the company of our guests, we enjoy what we do, and I hope and feel that comes across as a genuine interest in them. And so we'll go out of our way to make sure that they have what they want. And if we think that, they're not sure about what to do, or they are not comfortable with something, then we'll step in and say, can we help you? What can we do to make your stay more enjoyable? And most people appreciate the interest that we take in them. We also do a couple of other things. I'm not saying that these are crucial, but we never ask people what they do for a living. So if it comes up in a conversation, then that's great, but we'll never ask, because they're on holiday and they may not want to talk about their business. And if we find out they're a bus driver or a brain surgeon, we might treat them differently. So we treat everybody equally, and we think everybody's having a great time. And if they raise it in conversation, that's great, but we'll never ask. The second thing we do is we will never use the swimming pool when there are guests on site. So it's their swimming pool for their holiday, and we won't use it. Tempting though it is when it's really hot in the summer, we won't use it when they're around.
I like that. I like not asking people what they do for a living, because as a Londoner, like yourself, I'm a Northerner who spent many years in London. It is one of the questions you ask people, isn't it? And it's a real London thing to do it. And it is, you're right, it is the last thing people will be wanting to talk about on their holiday. So I think that's really smart. And the swimming pool one, so true. So true. I think I've stayed in numerous places where the gîte owner, Saturday, Sunday swings around, and before you know it, they're in there with the kids, and then you kind of just leave them to it because you feel like it's their space. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that meant that I would mark someone down for that, but it certainly might make it feel less special. It makes it feel like it's maybe less my secluded little spot for a week or 2 weeks or however long I'm there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, these are small things, and hopefully they make a difference. But I would just summarize in that sense. I think it's just be yourself, be genuine, be interested in other people, and put yourself out for them. And, we will do whatever it takes so they go home and have a great holiday. And there's nothing better than at the end of each week when 6 sets of guests go home and you get a virtual or physical pat on the back and they say, thank you. You've helped me have a brilliant holiday. I mean, how brilliant is that? How many times do you get in the corporate world people thanking you each week and saying, you've really helped me? That is brilliant. So it's a really buzz feeling. We absolutely love it. And, it's just brilliant. There's nothing better.
I love it. Such good advice for all our listeners out there and fellow hosts and members of the community that we're in. Be genuine, be yourself, have time, be authentic. None of those things are things I would associate with our Prime Minister, who is spearheading the COP26 event that's happening in Glasgow. We have to talk about it because it's such an important issue, and it's obviously central to what you're doing in Italy as an industry. And I should say at this point, sorry, and what you're doing as one of the early and key members and volunteers for the Tourism Declares a Climate Emergency campaign. Let's talk about it. Be blunt with us, Bob. Do you think we're doing enough as an industry? And if not, what are the things we could be doing? What are the quick wins we could be doing?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to say there. So we've been involved in this for 15 years. And, we started out, we didn't know much. We just knew that we wanted to do something. And we, started with solar panels and digging a well and putting a vegetable patch in and trying to phase out single-use plastic and things like that. And one of the things I always say when I'm talking to people or I'm writing about it on this subject is we're all on this journey. We're all learning. I wouldn't count myself as the expert. I know quite a lot, and I'm still teaching myself and learning as I go along. So it doesn't matter where the host is or the vacation rental manager is. All you need to be doing is saying, I want to make a difference. I know there's a climate emergency, and putting my hand up, I want to be part of that solution. And that's enough to get you started. I always say, you don't need to know any of the answers. You do not even need to know any of the questions to ask. The point is just that you're committed and that you want to get involved. So what we did at Casal di Fichi was we've built all these initiatives into our offering, into our product. And I always say, our business is a bit like a stick of Blackpool rock for those people in the UK who will understand that. And written all the way through it for Casal di Fichi is sustainability. Wherever you cut us open, you'll find sustainability at every touch point in our business. And that's really crucial because what we're trying to do is not only play our part as a business, a very small business, but we also want to play our part in educating our guests. So subtly and carefully, but very distinctively and decisively, we want our guests to go home knowing more about environmental sustainability and what they can do. Now, we don't push it down their throats, we don't nag them or chastise them, but we will gently find ways that they can discover more about sustainability by using the products that we have on site, by reading about what we do in our Touch Day guide or on our website, by talking to us at our pizza party. And when a guest goes home and writes back and says, oh, it was wonderful about the Who Gives a Crap toilet paper, we've just signed up for it, or we've just made our garden organic and we're growing vegetables, or we've just moved away from single-use plastic and we're using products where you can refill the containers so they don't have to be thrown away each time. That's when you feel that like you're making a difference. And that's really important to us. But then, a few years ago, I got to this feeling that wasn't enough. And so I've been on a mission, for want of a better word, to try to educate our community, to the vacation rental community, about sustainability and about what we can do. And to answer your question directly, I think our industry is doing very, very little. Tourism accounts for 8% of global greenhouse gases. And the vacation rental sector accounts for a substantial part of that 8%. And if you look at most vacation rentals, they're not doing a great deal. Or if they are, they're certainly not talking about it. And I think they're missing an amazing opportunity because I think it's great for their business. And we can talk about that because there's a growing sector of the traveling community who are looking for sustainable places to stay and who want to travel more greenly and who want to make a difference. They don't want to do what they do at home, trying to be green, and then go on holiday and forget all about it. And I think that this industry is going to grow considerably and really quickly. And so I'm trying to get our community, our global community, to get involved. And I've written a lot about things that practical, simple, obvious, easy things that people can do to get started and to make a difference without spending any great deal more money, in fact, often saving money. And I've never criticized because we were there some years ago and I understand people are busy. I understand people are trying to make their business successful. We've all been through some really difficult times these last 18 months and before. So I understand why people are focusing on their business, but I'm always saying to them, you can focus on your business and be successful and be green. It's not one or the other. It's not a binary choice. You can do the two together, as we have done and as many other people have done. And so be successful, build a profitable business, be sustainable, but because sustainability is about two things. It's about being financially sustainable and also environmentally sustainable. There's no point in being a wonderfully environmentally sustainable organization if you go out of business. You've got to be financially effective and make money at the bottom line to pay your staff, to pay your wages, to continue to invest in your business, but do it in a green way. And you will reap the rewards because there's a massively growing market. And the booking.com survey data that comes out every year is constantly talking about what you can do and how you can do it and why hosts should make a difference to the planet as well as to the bottom line, because travelers are looking for that sustainable travel, and they can make a difference if they can find two properties, one which is doing great stuff and one that isn't. If they're equally the same, why wouldn't the potential guest choose the greener option? If there's two properties exactly the same, great holiday, great pool, great price, everything's the same, one's greener than the other. Nobody's ever going to say, I'm going to choose the non-green one, are they? It's never going to happen. So make a difference and be competitive. Differentiate yourself from your competitors. Be one of those first responders and get into this market, because it's the right thing to do for the planet, and it's definitely the right thing to do for your business.
Perfect. Bob, what I like about this is that you're basically saying, look, whatever point you are in your journey here of being green, we're all somewhere on the spectrum. Do whatever you can to get started, right? Whether it be change your toilet paper to who gives a crap toilet paper, and get rid of all the plastic bottles, and point people in the direction of the plastic-free supermarket in the town where they can get things, and link in. When you explain it like that, you're basically taking us through the baby steps, right? And saying, look, and if you're already at that point, then there's bigger things you can do in the garden and the compost and all that sort of stuff. But start small and do something, right? Don't think you can't do something. That no small step is ever going to put you out of business, and quite the opposite. It will give you an edge. I often say that in a different context when I speak to property managers. What does differentiate your listing to another listing? And it's a really, really good point. I think more and more it's what the consumer wants, especially, again, as you put, if that's how they're living at home.
Yeah. I mean, a simple thing, a really simple thing that makes a difference is switch your energy supplier or your tariff to a green energy tariff. You contact your supplier, you say, I want to move to a green energy tariff, doesn't cost you any more money. And that money then goes into investing in green energy. If by chance that supplier doesn't have a green energy tariff, as ours didn't in the early days, you switch companies. It's a phone call, it's an email, it's a click on a website. It isn't complicated, but that you're making a huge, huge difference then, because your money is going into solar energy, into wind energy, into wave energy. And if we all did that, that's sending a significant message to the market that they need to be investing in green technology. It will not cost you any more money. It might even save you some money. And then you can say to people, you can put it on your website, we use green energy. And that is one baby step. It's a 10-minute job, and you've started on that path. And there are so many other things you can do, depending on how much time you have and what you want to focus on in your business. But tourism declares a climate emergency, which I'm an outreach coordinator for and in a volunteer capacity. They're there to help you. SUPERHOG, we're a member of Casal di Fichi. We joined about 18 months ago. And what they do, as you know, is they're there to help disseminate best practice, to guide anybody in the tourism industry, not just in vacation rentals, about how to take those steps and what to do, and to move you along that line, because there are always people who are ahead of you who've done some things, and you can learn from them. I've written a 10-step roadmap for hosts and vacation rental property managers, 10 top things that they can do to move themselves to be environmentally friendly. And the vast majority of them are not complicated and they're really easy to do. And then you can start to badge your organization as being truly green. Now, this isn't greenwashing because you've got to take some steps. But once you do that, you badge your organization, you maybe get a membership of one of the accreditation schemes, which will check that you are doing what you say you're doing. You maybe join one of the green OTAs, like EcoB&B, who will then feed people to you who are looking for a green stay. And you're differentiating yourself from your competitor down the road. You're making a difference, and you're tapping in to a new market that you couldn't tap into before. So what is there to lose by doing that? It's really an amazing thing, and I would encourage people to do it and get involved because it's good for your business. And this is the direction that we're going in. So it's only going to become more and more that people are going to be looking for green stays. We've got the COP meeting coming up in a week, and we're hoping that some really good commitments will come out of that meeting from the governments involved, the 195 governments in the EU. But it isn't enough for governments to do what they do. We have to get businesses involved. We have to get people involved in every line of business, everywhere in the world, to play their part. And that's how we can create really quick change so that we can stay below 1.5 degree increase before 2050. And Tourism Declares is there to help you. If you're in tourism and you are putting up your hand, you're saying you want to make a difference, get involved, join Tourism Declares, and let them help you. It's free. It costs nothing. What is there not to like about it? And I'm always ready to help people. If people want to contact me, I spend a lot of my time having conversations with people and getting them on that road. I'm not in business to make any money from that. I'm just doing it because it's one of my passions and I believe it's really important. So I would just encourage anyone who's watching or listening to this to take that first step.
Thanks, Bob. You speak so eloquently about it. You have given really, really clear instructions and guidance to property managers already across the industry. I know how much of a difference you've made and how much you continue to make. Obviously, we will link to you in the LinkedIn post we put about this interview and people will be able to find you. So yeah, reach out to Bob Garner directly. Bob's always been super friendly and helpful when we were setting up SUPERHOG to be involved. And yeah, you're right. Make that small difference locally in your own business alongside what the governments are doing at COP26, and together, we have a really good shot of fixing this thing. But I think you're right. I think it starts at home, doesn't it? It starts with that personal responsibility that you take. And again, this is, as you said, this is the direction of traffic. This is coming. So far from running from it, embrace it and use it as an advantage. Get ahead of the curve.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say, and this is no nag and no preach, but the majority of people listening or watching this have children or will have children and may already have grandchildren. I personally don't. I won't be around in 2050 probably to see what happens. But most people will, or their children will, and their grandchildren will. And it's those generations that will be picking up the tab and living through what happens as a result of whether we fix this climate emergency or not. We're already at 1.23 degrees. We've got to keep below 1.5. Even at 1.5, it's said as though that's the panacea that's going to fix everything. Even at 1.5, we're going to see serious risks to the planet, and we're already seeing it at 1.2. So it doesn't mean everything is fixed. It just means I think the number is 66% chance that we can get through 2050 if we stay below 1.5 and find ways to fix the planet so that people can still continue to live. But future generations will certainly have to pick up the tab for this. So if you're not thinking about yourself, then perhaps think about your children or your grandchildren. And if that doesn't motivate you, I'm not sure what will.
Again, really, really fabulous point. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about it today. I've learned a lot, as I always do whenever we speak. So I'll reiterate that point. Bob is super, super willing to talk to people, give up his own time. So feel free to reach out if you've got questions. The smallest of changes makes a big difference. Bob, but before we let you go, and again, you've been very generous with your time, as always, with us. when you're not focusing on your commitments and your work and your volunteering, how do you like to relax and blow off steam? I know you try not to jump in the pool when there's other people around. Where if I'm picturing you in Italy, what are you up to?
Yeah. To be honest, most of my free time is taken up on the tourism issue at the moment, because there's just so much going on, and I enjoy it. So I love to do it. I love to go off walking in nature with my 3 dogs. And as I was saying earlier, in the winter, we love to travel. We really enjoy traveling. And in 10 days, I will be in London, seeing friends and going for a curry. And I'm so looking forward to it.
We'll have to go for a coffee then, obviously in Stoke Newington, and not in Newington Green, but we'll have to go for a coffee and talk there.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Bob, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you in London very soon.
Okay, my pleasure. Take care.